Hello, and Merry Christmas. Today I'm going to be showing you several different DIY projects that you can do for the Christmas time. I love using all of these pieces in my Christmas decorating, and most of them also serve as practical decor items as well. The first project I'm going to make is this gingerbread house cookie jar. I really want this to look like the Pottery Barn cookie jar that they sell that is so viral that has actually been sold out for pretty much the entire Christmas time. So I actually picked up this mini gingerbread house from the dollar section at Target. It was only $5, which I think is a steal of a deal, and I just thought it was so cute. It has so much potential, and the top does come on and off too, and it's also sealed on the top too. So it can definitely be used for your cookies or whatever you want to put in it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the bright colors on here, and because I already have the Pottery Barn cookie jar, I wanted to kind of match that so they can flow with each other. I'm using this brown color of this waterproof acrylic paint for the base, and then I did about 2 or 3 layers, or just until the brown was a solid color. For the smaller parts, I'm just going to take a small paintbrush and some white paint that are already embezzled into this pottery, and I'm just going to trace out the little grooves. So it was really convenient. All I had to do was trace what was already there. And then I'm going to take this white puffy paint. I got this from Walmart. It was only a few dollars. And then I'm just going to dot around the edges of the house and kind of make bigger plumps, so it feels like little gumdrops or even snow on the roof of the house. I kind of just followed the pattern of these little dots as the same one as the Pottery Barn one. I let all the paint dry completely for about 24 hours, and then I went in with some extra strength Mod Podge, and I'm using a thick coat all over the top and all over the sides of this cookie jar. I love the glossy pottery finish that the Pottery Barn one has, so that is the look we're going for here. So I'm using a ton. Mod Podge can definitely come in handy, but it can also be really tricky to work with if you're going for a smooth look. So my advice to you is definitely don't overwork it. It is a super thick consistency, and the more you brush it on, the more strokes you're gonna see. So as soon as you see a smooth finish, just stop and leave it like that. For the next DIY, this is definitely my most time-consuming one. This took a few weeks for me to actually complete the final product, but we are going to be making a holiday embroidered pillow. I bought these linen pillowcases with this fluted detail on the edges. I bought this embroidery kit off of Amazon. It came in handy so much. This is all that I needed to make this entire project. Pretty much just this kit and the pillowcase, and then the special paper that you print the design on. So I made this little sketch design of a whole bunch of different Christmas flowers. This also has different sorts of mistletoe and holly berries in it, so it definitely is feeling Christmassy. So this kit was a lifesaver. It came with all of the supplies, all the needles, the yarn, the little stand to hold your fabric tightly together, because that really makes a difference, with a whole bunch of different sizes too, and it was only around $30. And what's cool about this is you can use whatever colors you want. If you wanted to do something a lot more neutral, you could absolutely do that too. print out the design, I'm just going to switch out the paper in my printer to this printer ink transfer paper. This is just special paper that allows you to transfer the design from the paper to whatever you're designing. So I just printed out the design on my paper, and then I'm going to take my little iron and iron it onto the pillow fabric. So when you're watching me do this, you'll notice that I'm just on a normal embroidered paper sort of thing. This came with the kit, and I actually made the mistake of doing it on here and not just straight on the pillow. So I know that you see me doing it on this little thing, but this was just the first go round. It took me a whole nother week to finish the other one that was actually on the pillow. So it was all said and done, and I tried to cut it out. It just wasn't looking good with the white paper behind it on top of the pillow. So I knew I needed to just suck it up and do it again. So I spent another week actually embroidering the pillow itself, and I love the way it turned out. It is exactly what I was picturing. I also really didn't know what I was doing when I started stitching, and honestly the second embroider came out so much better, so it ended up being okay in the end that I had this first one to kind of practice on and get the hang of things. And for the red bow, I decided to make it 3D so it's sticking out a little. So I just punctured 2 holes in the side and just added 2 new strings in and then tied it into a bow. And I love how it turned out. Will I do this again? Probably not. Maybe when I'm retired, because this took way too much of my time, but I'm proud of it. For this next DIY, this is super easy and took almost no time at all. So I'm gonna take this ceramic mug that is from Target. This has trees just engraved into it. It's super popular, but this was only $6. So I want this mug to be double-sided. So I'm gonna just leave the trees on the front of the mug, and then on the back, I'm gonna create little groups of berries, and I'm gonna make little holly berry, mistletoe, Christmas greenery. I want this to look very dainty and cute and hand painted. The trick with this one is to get the right sort of paint. This is the paint that I use that is meant for ceramics and glass like this. It's dishwasher safe, and this stuff is not coming off. This was such an easy DIY and the most affordable one too. And now we basically just made 2 more mugs for styling purposes. Next one I'm really excited about, and I don't really know how much of a DIY this is because I technically didn't make this myself, but I really want to tell you guys about it because it is so popular. So they have viral reindeer at Pottery Barn and Walmart and a whole bunch of other stores, but they are sold out pretty much everywhere. But when I was in Walmart the other day, I found the reindeer in a stocking holder version, and they are the same style skinny reindeer. They're not too small or anything. I would say it's actually the same size as my medium size reindeer from Pottery Barn. So I saw so much potential in this, so I just took it home and we experimented with it and tried to get the stocking holder part off. And after denting the deer a little bit and hitting it on the floor to try to get it off, we realized that it's actually screwed on underneath. So all that you have to do is just rip off the little padded part on the bottom and then unscrew it. And then you have the skinny reindeer. These are in stock right now, and there were also so many in stock in my store. So if you missed out on the viral reindeer this year, this is a great affordable last minute option. Now we're gonna make the famous gingerbread house welcome mat. There are so many different versions of these. There's designer stores that have their own version. And over the years, I really feel like more and more of these designs come out. I got this blank welcome mat from Walmart for like $7. I'm using some printable iron-on paper for this. You could use any sort of iron-on material that you have, whether it's vinyl, ink, or whatever you have. Whatever's gonna stick to fabric is what you need. The one that I used just came with my Cricut Joy package last year, and it's called Printable Iron-On for Dark Fabrics. I didn't print anything on this. I pretty much just used it because it was white. I'm printing out each element of this mat separately. So first I'm working on the windows, then I'm gonna do the door, and then I'm gonna cut out a whole bunch of tiny lines to make the roof. I found all of the elements from the Cricut design space, so I just typed in things like arched window or arched door, and it would give me the shape, and then I just picked out different shapes and designs to iron on the mat separately. I love adding in little scallop details here and there, so I'm actually gonna make the door into an arched scallop shape. Once everything is placed where I want it to be, I take this little paper that came with the printable iron-on, and I'm just gonna stick this over it and use the iron to heat press everything to the mat. I'm using the heat on high, and I'm making sure I cover each spot for 15 to 20 seconds each, enough so everything is melted into the fabric, but make sure you don't put it on for too long at one time, or else it'll burn the fabric and it will turn the design a little bit yellow. I'm gonna use the same bow technique as I used for our embroidered pillow, but I wanna kind of have a built-in bow for this one. So I'm just taking one of my needles that came in my embroidery kit and a ribbon that I'm using for Christmas. And I also make sure I tie a knot in the strings so they don't come through to the front of the mat. And I'm just gonna take two different strings and make two holes right next to each other. And then I'm just gonna tie those two strings together and make a bow. I felt like it needed a little bit of color, so I'm gonna add some red dots to each intersection on the roof. I'm also using the white puff paint to add some snow detail because it's just easier that way, and also because I ran out of the iron-on paper. Next, we're gonna make a star garland. So I'm really inspired by this garland from Anthropologie. I love the metal gold stars. I just think this look is beautiful, and I have been really into using stars in my decorating this year. So I just got these little gold stars from Etsy, and these were super affordable, but I'm just using a gold string to hang them on. This looks exactly like the gold string from Anthropologie. This is just from Amazon, and I've actually used this a lot this year for a lot of my ornaments, so it has worked out really well. I'm just gonna string each star on and then tie it into that certain place. I just made sure I double knotted it so everything was nice and tight, and I spaced out the stars about 6 inches apart from each other. Just super simple, super cheap, and we get the same look as Anthropologie, but for only a few dollars rather than like $50. Okay, so this DIY might be a little silly. We are making cookies, gingerbread cookies, but they are not real. We honestly are never really making gingerbread cookies in our house, and if we did make them, they would all be gone and eaten within the first day, so they wouldn't really act much as decor. So I figured it'd be fun to make some faux gingerbread cookies that will never rot and we can permanently use for decor over the years. I'm using my Cricut to cut out different gingerbread shapes. I want them all to be slightly different shapes and sizes so it feels more imperfect, like a natural cookie would be. I'm using the thickest cardstock that you can use for the Cricut. You can use any color paper for this too. It's all going to be covered in the end, so it really doesn't matter. Once all the little guys are cut out, I'm going to tie a string to each individual man, and then I'm going to start heating up candle wax so we can make these guys a lot more sturdy and cookie shaped. I'm using these holiday fragrance oils to make the scents. These smell so good, and they have all of the flavors for Christmas, from pine to peppermint. I'm dipping each little guy into the candle wax, and a few things I've learned from doing this is you don't want your wax to be too hot, or else it'll burn the paper, and also it'll just melt off the previous wax that was already there. So you want it to be warm but still completely melted with no chunks. And you will see the buildup of the candle gets faster and faster the cooler the wax gets. There was some lumps here and there on some of the guys, so to smooth out the edges and to make everything have a clean line, I'm just lighting the wax around the edges of each guy and then just smoothing out the surface of him with my fingers. I want each one to be different, so I'm designing each one in a different way. And I'm using that same puff paint that we used for the first gingerbread house DIY. This creates perfect dots, and it also gives a three-dimensional finish, which is just the icing on the cake, or the cookie, I should say. Subscribe if you're new, and comment down below telling me your favorite DIY and if you will attempt any this year for Christmas. Thank you so much for being here. Please comment and give this a thumbs up for support. We'll see you in a few days in a new one. Bye!